Catherine Engelbrecht and Greg Phillips, co-founders of True the Vote, were sentenced to jail without bail, where they were placed in solitary confinement. This was because of a judge's ruling after they refused to reveal a source in a civil case. Engelbrecht and Phillips, whose work investigating election fraud was exposed in Dinesh D'Souza's documentary 2000 Mules, were freed through an appeal. We speak with Catherine about her experience, about the state of America, and about her continued work to expose election fraud. Catherine Engelbrecht, thanks for being on Crossroads.
Thanks for having me, Joshua. Appreciate it.
So, Catherine, we all saw the headlines, or at least most of us did, that you and Greg Phillips were both put in prison, at least, well, jailed temporarily at least, over this whole Connick case. What exactly happened with this?
Unprecedented, but we were held in contempt of court in a civil case where the federal judge decided to imprison us without bond in a medium security criminal penitentiary. And the only way we got out was through an emergency writ appeal to the Fifth Circuit Court, where they overturned the sentence, and we were released about a little bit more than 7 days after we were initially jailed. And the whole thing is just through the looking glass. They didn't, in fact, when the sentence first was given in the courtroom and we were taken into custody, initially the U.S. Marshals didn't even know quite how to book us because what was happening was so unprecedented. And the term political prisoner comes to mind. And we were very, very fortunate that we had a great legal team that could quickly spin up an appeal, and that was favorably heard. But were that not the case, we'd still be in jail to this day, and that's a terrifying thought.
I've never heard of anybody facing that in a civil case.
Yeah.
You said that even the marshals never heard anything like this. Did they mention that too?
Oh, absolutely. It was the talk of every station of law enforcement that we came in contact with, that this was all unprecedented. We were put into solitary confinement, which, as harsh as that is and was, it was for our own safety because we were sentenced to a criminal facility. There was issue upon issue that just no one had ever seen anything like this done before. And of course, it's not lost on anyone, I would hope, that it happens the week before midterms, when an organization like True the Vote is at its peak in terms of the work we are doing on the ground. And it took us absolutely off the field. So I'm still sort of processing through everything that happened in this past week, but very little of it adds up to much good.
Well, and of course, I'm not accusing the judge of doing this for this reason, but the timing was actually really unfortunate in terms of people being able to monitor the boxes, because I know that you and Greg Phillips, through True the Vote, were planning on releasing technologies that would allow people to watch camera feeds of all the drop boxes for the elections. Did this actually interfere with that? I'm curious.
To some extent, not so much the week before, not actually the imprisonment, but certainly the way that this lawsuit was filed and twisted so many things that we were trying to launch and to bring to the fore that had nothing to do with the case at hand, which revolves around a company called Connick, an election software company based out of Lansing, Michigan. And although that was the subject of the lawsuit, they tried to wrap in everything else, or many of the other things that True the Vote was doing, and it put all of it into a difficult position as we were battling back against the lawsuit. So, unprecedented. What we have been through is absolutely unprecedented, but I think of the many lessons I've taken from it, one of the most valuable is how precious freedom really is, and how seriously we ought to take our civic duties and our responsibility to vote and our responsibility to stay engaged, because things like this are happening with increasing regularity. And I shudder to think how it might feel if at some point in the not too distant future, this doesn't seem to be so unprecedented, and that could absolutely happen if we're not careful.